well-known journalist, head of Asian Age she's come from Delhi for the festival. Rita Datta, professor and well-known critic, member of IPRESCI. Lalit Joshi, sorry, Lalit Rao, also a famous critic, curator, writer, has also worked, and a French translator who has worked and been at the festival for many years. Namrata Joshi, National Award-winning film critic, who's also helped us with selection of films in this edition. She has been very patiently working on films. Namrata has been with The Outlook and The Hindu, and now she freelances. I think the topic has to be looked at a little differently because frankly we all know what the intention of the government, or at least the present government, or any government for that matter, in intervening with in the OTT platform space is. I don't think we need to debate that. It's fairly obvious about why they want this, what is happening. But I would like to just draw attention to the fact that there has been a lot of confusion about what this intervention is. What is it they're trying to do? I mean, they can't call it censorship, so it is in fact actually a means to intervene, to perhaps suppress some voices, perhaps suppress some type of content. But it's also the larger question of, the OTT platforms themselves have responded. They have all responded by coming up with a code of conduct. They have come up with 5 areas where they have said that they're going to self-regulate, etc. But I think the larger question that we are looking at today is that in an era where the internet, digital communication, social media, what is it that the government, how are they going to intervene? What is it they're going to do really? And why should they, what is this fear? I mean, even just recently, like yesterday, this whole question that came up in Parliament, and the whole question of Twitter and social media being now told that you can do business here, but don't you dare say anything against. So I just would like you all to talk and dwell a little on this subject. We'll go down the line a little. We'll start with Suparna, and perhaps you could talk historically what has happened, because you see when the cable televisions came in, immediately they came up with I think in 2005 there was a Cable Television Act. So they keep doing this, and what does it do to the content? How does it change content? Will it affect what we get to see? Is it going to change the way you see, because whatever you may say, this offered an option or an opportunity to people to see different types of content. So if you could talk a bit about that.
Thanks, Beena. Traditionally, I think all governments have tried to control all sorts of media. I mean, this government specifically has almost like a blueprint carried out, controlling newspapers, magazines, websites, through television, of course, film, cinema. And now OTT is the last kind of bastion where they are going to now venture. So I think it's going to be, as usual, a two-pronged kind of attack. One is an institutional one, where they will set up rules, where they will again try and define this very vague term of anti-national. So whatever they don't like, any dissent becomes anti-national. And the other is, of course, from outside there will be pressure. already one series which was supposed to drop on Amazon, The Family Man. They kind of delayed the release of the series. So it at the end, these are all commercial enterprises and money matters. People don't want to lose money. They don't want to like go out there and then have to delete scenes. So it will have an impact first in the sense of self-censorship. Tanda, for example, was quite bold when it showed, JNU and its political stories so fashioned after Amit Shah and Narendra Modi and then them coming to power. And the fact that most of the people attached with the series were Muslims. And that really is the point. The two series they are targeting, that they are going to use to kind of intervene in this platform, have a lot of Muslim names attached to them in the writing, in the actors, etc. And their agenda is very, very obvious. So there's no subtlety there. So they are going to go after OTT platforms for sure.
So I'd like to thank Free Press India for giving me this platform to talk about this most pertinent issue of today's India. That I'm coining this word called censorship because it's been always there in India's cinematic history, and in every regime in some way or the other. If we talk about this Cinematograph Act of 1918 from there, which is a colonial thing, from there it has been started intervening with cinema, and also in terms of paintings and any kind of artistic expression, censorship was always there in every regime under any kind of ideology. So be it in 30s and 40s where Indian cinema with any kind of nationalistic fervor, they were considered as anti-nationalist and they were banned. In emergency period also, there were few films, we know the names, they have been banned. And then with OTT platforms, filmmakers, especially the independent filmmakers, they found it to be very liberating force initially, and they thought that they can, this censorship and all these banning issues will not be there. But now we can see that has also been encroached in some way or the other. And that reminds me of my favorite French philosopher, Michel Foucault. In 1975, in Discipline and Punish, he has written about this panopticon view of government, where everything is under surveillance. So with OTT platforms, it will also, the government will is trying to intervene. They have come up with a regulation kit. And Tandav, as Shukarna very well mentioned, that they said they have voluntarily withdrawn some part of the content, but what is voluntary and what is not, what is mandatory, we don't even know. And these are the trickier parts where we have to, talk about this elaborately. And any sane individual in any progressive society with democratic spirit can never, support censorship of any kind. And I don't think that cinema, I strongly believe that cinema every time has found its way to combat this monolithic hegemonic power of any sort. And I think they will find newer innovative mechanisms like allegorical and metaphorical mechanisms in cinema by which they will find their way. And if the government, my eternal question is that if the government believe in us, have faith in us as voters, then why don't they have faith in us as spectators? If we don't have to see anything, we have this, remote in our hand, we can always switch it off. So let there be multiple voices and let there be multiple choices. Let us have our own self-regulatory mechanism. I don't think anything should be imposed on us in any way. Thank you.
First of all, I would like to thank Fipreski for giving me a chance to speak here, and it's a very pertinent topic. So I would start, what I want to say by getting into a little bit of technical details, and then I would say that both filmmakers and the government have to follow a middle path, because that way both, but you know how they have to follow, so I'll just tell you. See, currently there are over 40 OTT players in India, and it's all a question of approval of the content which these players wish to stream, because they wish to stream something and they need approval. So this has been brought under the control of the Information Broadcasting Ministry. So the problem lies in the fact that most of these platforms have content which can be censored. Okay, this is given. Whether we like it or not, they have content, and they are producing that kind of content which can be censored. Now, coming to censorship, Borges said that censorship is the origin of metaphor. So hence, we can say that censorship would enable these content creators to be more subtle. It's all a question of subtlety. Okay, how you are subtle in your art. So censorship would enable them to be more subtle in their approach and their works. And in the past, we all know how East European cinema produced wonderful films when they were under censorship. Of course, there were control and restrictions, but the content which was created was something praiseworthy. So the same scenario is in many ways replicated in India now. Okay, that's one thing. And then, then there's a regulatory body called IMAI, Internet and Mobile Association of India, which is the representative body of these OTT platforms. And this body has proposed a self-regulatory model. So when you have a self-regulatory model, a step before censorship, you regulate your own content, okay, on your own, and then comes censorship in any form, okay. And there's a lot of catch-22 situation. Another problem is that we are yet to have any kind of legislation or a regulatory mechanism that governs the content streamed by OTT platforms in India. So first and foremost, we have to take care of these issues. And of course, yes, government is doing whatever. If it's not happy, of course, government is doing taking action against this OTT platform, but it should not. Okay, the onus lies on the content creators that okay, they create such kind of content, given the fact that this content, some of it is controversial, okay, and falls under the ambit of censorship if they are following the guidelines of self-regulatory mechanism correctly, then I believe a lot of trouble and confusing situation can be avoided. This is what I feel currently. Thank you.
I'd like to respond to, or you want to speak and then, yeah.
So, my contention is that we may say that every government wants to control, but this government is sinister to the level that we can't think of. So let's be very clear about that first, that, under the garb of saying that all governments want control, we can't let this particular regime get past. I've been following the censorship debate now since 2015. They set up a committee under Shyam Benegal to come up with the new guidelines. And we were told that there will be, no censorship, there will be just gradation given as it happens in the West. I don't know where that has vanished. And even then, there was Mudgal committee before this regime came in, which had given the same guidelines across, but just to prove a point, they set up a new committee, and then we were constantly told that, we are all for creative liberty. I don't see that happening at all. Now, technically, there is no censorship or regulation in place at the moment for OTT platforms, and I'm not sure whether that happens in other countries as well. From what I learn, I think Indonesia is thinking about something along those lines. I'm not sure about it. And I think the one instance was Saudi Arabia coming down heavily on content. Now, do we want to become same? Do we want to get into the same shoes? The self-regulation mechanism, as I read it, is a last-ditch attempt by the industry to somehow not let that regulation come to play, which Javadekar has been talking about since November. So I think it is one last attempt that the industry is taking to somehow survive, and the industry has been very badly treated, left, right, and center. Bollywood has been, I mean, the regional cinema, quote unquote, as we call it, is still out of the purview. But if you look at how the Hindi film industry has been bashed and battered, it's a fight for survival. And self-regulation code, I just felt when I read about it the other day, is like a very placatory gesture saying that, okay, please stay away from what we are doing. We will kind of get into this mechanism ourselves to try and avoid that self-regulation mechanism to come true, you know. And yes, I know that when the pressure comes in, there would be subtler ways of expression. But why should we resort to that? Why can't we openly talk about what we want to talk about? I think as creative people, we have right to watch all kinds of films and then debate on them. Ahmed Bahrami, who I interviewed for The Wasteland, was talking to me about the same thing as to how Iran has to go oblique, has to go, subtle to talk to the powers that be. But yes, very good cinema may come out of it, but a Tandav has every right to exist. You cannot put such curbs. And I'm sorry, the way they go about it, the FIRs, the laws under which they are framed, they are sinister to the core, you know. We were discussing about NewsClick just a while ago. You know, the way they have chased the media and brought the media down to its heels. They are doing the same with the mainstream film industry, and they are going to do the same with the OTT platforms. So it is not as simple as any and every government trying to control. That's my contention.
Yeah, and also, the problem with this whole thing of the law is that they're not being able to make out the difference between OTT platforms, news aggregators. So our news channels now which are online, are they going to be also regulated? So the question is much broader. And I also like to sort of flag one more point, that this whole business of who drives this. You have one person sitting in UP deciding that because Tandav something was not liked, you have a whole government mechanism. You see, so you are pandering completely to these elements who are taking law into their own hands and saying, okay, we will make laws because this man said it, or one man said it, or 10 men said it, or whatever. So I think that's the dangerous thing, that, you know, there is a lot of confusion on the part of the government. What is it they're trying to do? Is it just blank censorship? Is it threat? Is it, is it actual genuine concern? Also, I would like, Suparna, if you could talk about this notion of what is Indian culture. We, sex is not good, this is not good. I think these are the other kind of bogies that are always put. How does Netflix know anything about Indian culture? I mean, so if you could just talk about the fact that these are all driven by very dangerous ideas about what the role of the government is.
I actually don't think it is one random man sitting in UP.
Yeah, of course.
I think this whole thing is moving to an agenda. It's a preset, decided agenda to control the narrative, to control what stories we can tell, what stories we can tell about this country's present, its past, its people. And the idea is to push, as you said, what is Indian. According to this government, there is this upper caste Hindu is Indian. And everything else, if it's a Muslim perspective, if it's any Christian perspective, that's an outside perspective, and that cannot be mainstreamed and should not be mainstreamed according to this government. That is very, very clear. And it's on this that when you try and mainstream is mainstream this is what they call anti-national. Anti-national is basically anti-BJP. That's it. I mean, it's as simple as that. But Tandav, for example, this huge hue and cry about the Shiv scene where Lord Shiva comes, and it's nothing. It's just a stage, a play which is happening in this university, which is JNU. They call it VNU. And all that happened, there's nothing obscene, there's nothing derogatory, there is just slogans of Azadi. And it's Azadi from hunger, Azadi from poverty, Azadi from... It's a very leftist chants, which anyway this government doesn't like very much. So, the idea is to control the narrative and to further push the Hindutva agenda to normalize this nonsense. That's what it is. Yeah.
My question is that it seems, as she said, a much more sort of devious plan to impose a kind of, I think it's two things. One is it's fear. I mean, the moment, I really think that over the year, especially with the pandemic, etc., they did see that, the whole OTT platform, not only the OTT platforms, but all forms of digital communication had become very, very important to people. So I think one is to instill fear. The second is to, as she said, to control a narrative. What is it that we think of India? Is Netflix showing films that are truly Indian? You know, this kind of questioning
Yeah,
of...
that was always there. I mean, this upper caste, what Shupana said, the upper caste, Brahminical, Savarna hierarchy was always the dominating force. Even I'm doing my research in Bengal politics and Bengali cinema post-independence period. I have seen even in the communist regime there was this dominant upper caste Savarna hegemony was going on at that period of time also. So the whole concept of India and Indianness is little dicey, and with the present state of affairs, they are trying to streamline the narrative, and also whatever is marginal, non-conformist, so-called doesn't fall into the category A has been they are not there in the narrative anymore. So that effort is always there, and with this, as Namrata said, I completely agree with her that with this particular government, that these things are being more prevalent. But once again, I'm extremely hopeful about the fact the more this kind of imposition will be there. There will be resistance movement also, which is going on now in some form or the other. Could be sporadic at times, but there will be resistance. That has always been there, especially from media and cinema. That's my opinion.
No, well, first of all, personally, I'm not subscribed to any of the OTT channels, frankly speaking. So busy with world cinema. So it's all a question of preference, okay? So I would be really a wrong person to voice my opinion about something which I have not seen, okay? Because even the Tandav controversy or whatever, frankly speaking, I just know about it through media. So I'm not the right person to comment on that. But I believe, I just want to say something about your Indian thing, that, what is this Indian? Now, Indian content, what exactly we mean? Now, again, OTT platforms have really opened a lot of opportunities for our Indian content creators, especially cinema. I would just talk about cinema because this is what I know. I have no experience of web series. Now, for example, regional cinema. Earlier, how could you watch regional cinema, let's say 20 or 30 years ago, or yes, around that time? You could just watch on Doordarshan, and after the advent of cable TV, that thing also has disappeared. And now you can't even watch, even I believe some years ago, Lok Sabha TV was showing those films. So this is a kind of a market which has a lot of untapped potential, and our filmmakers can use it to our best. So I would see OTT platforms as a kind of opportunity providers for regional cinema, because being in Bombay or Delhi or Kolkata or Chennai, anywhere you can see films from other parts of India rather than the web series. I don't know why too much of focus is being given on web series. Maybe it's a easy way to make money, and whatever is very popular, people jump on the bandwagon. So I think with the preference of people, especially the cinephiles, should lie more for regional cinema, the showing of regional cinema on these OTT platforms. And let me quote something. Now I myself have subscribed to, on Tata Sky I watch French channels for French movies and German channel for news. And other than that, I don't watch any other thing. Now, I was watching a documentary on Truffaut. And people would be surprised to know that Netflix, now you can't expect this from Netflix, because there has been a lot of protests against Netflix in European film festival circles, how Netflix is monopolizing the distribution and sales. But Netflix has acquired the rights of all François Truffaut's films, and it is giving opportunity to young cinephiles in France to watch and to discover François Truffaut. If you live in Paris, well and good, Cinémathèque Française, you can watch films, but imagine you're living in some small town in France, south of France or west of France, you can't. So Netflix has given that opportunity, and I believe the same thing should be replicated in India to reveal what is this Indianness, of course, in the context of cinema, but not in the context of web series.
I mean, I see the point about the cinema spread and all. But the thing is that what is a pre-made content is not the point of OTT entirely. It is giving platform to people who are unable to create the kind of cinema they want to create by way of web series or by way of short films or by way of a proper 90 minutes to 2 hours films. And the thing is that on the one hand there has been a great deal of liberation with the young filmmakers talk about, because you don't have to preempt what censors would say. So the kind of themes that they have tackled, the kind of writing that one has seen emerge there has been great. At the same time, I'm not going to kind of also pitch Netflix as this great equalizer, a platform that has come and opened up the doors. I mean, talk to filmmakers in making films in various languages. Okay, we might get to watch them, but they are given pittance for rights. They are given pittance for those rights. But I think that is not the part of the debate here. The part of the debate is the original content which is coming to play on these platforms, which has been allowing young filmmakers to express themselves in ways that cinema has prevented them to. And why should the curbs be imposed on that? I think we will. That is one important point to take cognizance of here.
Yeah, and also to say that it's not enough, it's not enough to just say, yeah, we are doing regulations. What is the process? What is the transparent process that the government has put into place to understand this field, to come up with regulations? This is the root of the problem. Lack.
Yeah, so what you are saying, I don't see industry being consulted in this so-called regulations which are being framed. It's just. So then how is it
It's not
fair?
supposed to be censorship. It's basically dictating what you can make and what you can't make. And for that, there's no need to consult. So there may be some who are already kind of embedded. They may kind of, consult those few writers, filmmakers, people we know, Kangana Ranauts of the world. And they will basically put a stamp of approval on this, and then they will come down on, and try and control what stories we can write, we can watch, what stories we can tell about this country. I want to just pick on your point about this great cinema that came out of, these kind of regimes. I mean, that's great, but must you tie up a country in knots for then to, make great cinema? We make great cinema. I mean, I think a lot of it is rubbish, but a lot of it is fabulous. And I don't agree that good cinema only comes out of this kind of what you were saying, allegorical. You're forced to tell a story in a certain way, use a balloon or use, as a metaphor for freedom or life or what you want, your desires. So I don't understand this concept. Like Pakistan has had it, and they've made some good film, but it's not. It's I think a cinematic tradition of a people. So it's not about censorship. I don't think great work comes out of censorship. No, it doesn't. I mean, there are examples, I concede. Yes, but what if, but we don't know what they would have made without the censorship. It may have been even better and greater and bolder. So, I mean, I don't agree with your point.
No, my whole point was that even censorship being bad had some advantages. That's it. I wanted to highlight that. And okay, even good cinema is being made in Iran also, where there's no, I would not say censorship, but some kind of regulation by Minister of Islamic Culture and Guidance.
It's
so
good,
that
na?
kind of a thing.
Is
Okay.
good is what you're
Which
saying.
is good, which is positive, because I believe good cinema is coming out of there also with this kind of regulation.
But-
and of course,
Saudi
well,
Arabia
I
is
don't
not coming
but-
up with it.
but-
I mean, I don't
no, Saudi Arabia has no film industry, first of all. Namrata,
that's
you
not
should
what
know.
they have. They
You
have.
should know.
They,
That's
and
it.
they
don't
don't
have-
have for this.
They have a
reason.
fledgling film industry, but you
No,
can't
what
say
is-
full-fledged
but why
this thing.
is it because it is because of the over.
No, it's not. It's
But
it is
why
not.
should some
My-
bureaucrat tell me
Just,
what to
one
write,
No,
what to watch?
my only point is that censorship, of course, in all its forms is negative, but of course, from something negative, if positive comes, we should welcome it. That's it. That's all
But
I
that
want
is
to
like
say.
saying,
That's it.
I mean, I have both my arms, I'm going to tie your arm and now see how you write. Ye kya matlab hua yaar?
No. I believe
Yeah, that-
no,
I mean-
no. Censorship has existed in even in USA. You take the this witch hunt and all that, McCarthyism and all that. So even in what do you
It
call?
was.
Yes.
You think
Okay.
McCarthyism was good? I mean,
No, it was not. It was not good. But even the like Jules Dassa and those kind of filmmakers, the kind of work which they produce, even under tough circumstances. This is what you can pounce upon me on you thinking that I'm supporting it, but no, I'm not supporting. The point
No,
which
no,
I'm
no,
trying
we
to make is
understand.
that out of bad, if something good comes, then we should welcome
Then
it.
we should
That's it.
welcome the good, not the bad.
Yeah, of course, we should welcome the good. Yes, we
No,
should.
but
Namrata, that's what
I-
I'm saying. You should
I
welcome the
still-
good. Okay, no, you
I
should.
still don't
You
understand.
can decry censorship in any form, vociferously. Even I am for it, but.
But you
the
just
en-
said that
but
censorship
the-
is
but the-
good in Iran.
It's no, not censorship. What I meant was Ministry of that guidance. There's no censorship. Mania Akbari and all those people are free to make whatever work they want to make. Abbas
Mania
Kiarostami and all that.
Akbari
Okay.
has to live in England to make her film.
True. Of course, if the
And half the Iranian directors you're
First
talking
of all,
about, they
guys,
don't even live in Iran.
We should know. See,
Mohammad
we
Rasulullah.
should understand
Rasulullah.
that, first of all, by sitting in India, we can't comment because we don't know the mechanism. But from whatever we know, there's some kind of a system which works over there. So those who fall under those ambit, because even A grade films are there, B grade and C grade, the kind of films which are, given those kind of tags, Okay, so every industry works under its own mechanism, so you can't comment on that kind of mechanism. But of course, the films which are good filmmakers have been revealed, and of course, people like Mania Akbari, a very talented filmmaker, is having problems. That is true. Even Abbas Kiarostami, even many
I want
many
to just
filmmakers.
ask you
Fanani
one-
was in jail. Mohammad
Zafar-
Rasulullah is
precisely,
fighting for his
but
life.
everybody, we are all protesting against that kind of a.
We must protest
go-
in our
but I-
country as well.
Definitely, yes,
I want
yes,
to ask
precisely.
Why are we saying that good will emerge emerge out of it when we are seeing every institution is being...
No, Namrata, you're not getting a point.
But do
Please.
you- but
no,
do you-
I'm
one
not
second,
saying. No,
one
first
second,
of all, guys,
one second.
any government. Now today is this government, tomorrow will be that government. But of course, government intervention
Yes,
will be there,
I'd
and that
like
has
to
to
bring-
stop. That has to
I'll
stop.
bring
That's-
that point.
Let it
Yeah.
conclude on that.
I would
Yes.
just like to
Yes.
sort of draw out from
Yes, you
what
can-
Lalit is saying something even further, that to expect any state mechanism, whether it is the current dispensation here, there, anywhere, to support unbridled freedom is, I think, is a dream. We'll all be living in a dream world to imagine that any. But I think the point that we're trying to make is, Lalit, that there is a far more sinister plan in this. When you only ban a tandav, you have so-called people's voices coming and saying that scene is bad, you are controlling a narrative in a very different way. This is the point that everybody is trying to make, that this is
No, I got-
this is not mere censorship. This is not mere censorship.
targeted.
It's targeting, it's
Yes.
shaping a narrative in a particular way,
Yes, you're right.
which is very scary for artists, for people who want to express, for everybody who works in an artistic manner.
Of course, artistic freedom is paramount. But again, the filmmaker, again, it's all a question of subtlety, guys, dear friends. It's all a question of subtlety. How you can avoid this kind of troubles? In Iran, they would show flower of Makbul Buff, the kind of troubles
I
which he
just
had.
want-
But again,
Makbul
the-
Baf has not been able to live in Iran. He is out of Iran
no, but
for years and
for
years.
all the time he lived in Iran, he created good work. That's
He's
what.
always wanting to go back because
But
he
I
was
have-
a great
Yes.
artist. My point is, he could never stay in Iran. Isn't that a tragedy? Do we want to see our artists run away? Do we want to see everybody saying we can't live in India?
Well,
We have great artists.
fortunately, we have not come to that pass. But of course,
Of
it should
course
not.
we
It should
have.
not. It should not happen.
happened with MF Hussain. It will happen again. I just want to ask you.
Even
you're-
Adora
You're
could
talking about Iran so much. It's not a democracy. We are a democracy.
Yes, we are a democracy, yes.
We have elected.
No, but,
we have elected a government to do a particular job. We have not elected a government to come and decide what we read and what we watch, and that's not their job.
No.
And they should not be getting into it. And this is bullshit to say that why should we wish censorship on ourselves so that we can do good work? Just because in Iran they have done good work, we can do good work with freedom.
See, we have
You
to
are
be very categorical in saying no censorship.
Yeah.
What good comes out of it or bad comes out of it, it is a different
No censorship. I believe it's not only with this current dispensation, okay? With the-
agree.
Yeah,
We agree,
precisely.
that we
but,
agree.
but actually, we will be in
And
a
it's
utopia if we
systematic
say
targeting.
no.
You are
it-
either with them or
No,
not
no,
with
no,
them.
no.
I
That
don't
is the problem.
No,
That is the
that-
problem.
yes.
I also
They are
have.
But no, but it should not happen. It should not. Should
I
not
also
be. Of
like
course,
to bring
yes.
up another point, Lalit. When we talk about this,
Yeah.
what is this? What is this world today? Right? We believe it's globalized. Capital should move. All this notion of this globalized India. Now, the moment you're confronted with anything global, which is a Netflix at this point, or an Amazon, or any of these, you just don't know how to deal with it. My point is,
How-
when
how?
you don't know how to deal with it. Because you flunder and you blunder and you say we are going to bring rules, do business here, but do it only in our terms. I mean, and even asking this question is considered anti-national, right? That how can you expect to come to a country and do anything? Of course, if you are a global player, you have to now decide whether they do well, whether the film does well. There are different kind of pointers to that direction. My point is that you're privatizing all the public industries, you're privatizing everything. The whole point is to make this one big private player market, right? Now, when there are private players, you cannot interfere in this manner. This is the point, that either you want it or you don't. Then let's go back to Doordarshan. Let's have only
We
Doordarshan.
can't. We need a time machine for going, back to the Doordarshan times. But of course, some kind of mechanism would be there which will control the. I believe it's in all parts of the world. Look at the Charlie Hebdo case in France. What has happened over there? It's a very much a democracy. It's not a dictatorship. Then why did Macron buckle under pressure? No, I'm sorry.
No, but this is a state organized. They are trying to institutionalize intervention. They are trying to do what used to happen in emergency, where what you write in newspapers gets checked, what gets shown on television gets checked. Everything will pass through them. This is what censorship is, and if you allow it, it controls what stories. So all the time we will only be listening to stories
this
of.
whole regulatory thing that is being put in the name of this regulatory authority is another name for censorship. This is what we are trying to get.
It's all great for us to be talking about it as viewers outside. Talk to the people in the industry. Talk to people who are there in Bollywood. You know, it's not happening here, but talk to them and you realize what kind of a fear psychosis is happening there. What kind of an anxiety is happening there. How have people been silenced? Why is Akshay Kumar on the rise and why is, the three Khans sidelined and marginalized? It's part of the same control mechanism that you pick up people who are with you and you kind of marginalize people who are not. And that is what is going to come into the narratives as well.
And I just want to add that whatever little bit we have seen of how this government, its artistic aesthetic, its sense of anything that is interesting or intelligent, the cinema that will come out of India will be accidental prime minister, these Vivek Agnihotri type of films. This is what you will be left with.
That cinema is not doing well at all. First of all, that cinema is not doing
No,
well at all.
but-
Cinema doing well is not on the agenda.
No, it's not official
Cinema
agenda.
doing well is
Do you
not
think,
on
do you
the
think that
agenda.
kind of cinema is getting...
How far it promotes BJP
Namrata,
is what is right
is
now.
that cinema getting acceptance
think,
by
yeah.
the audiences in India? No. I think that supports our, our thoughts.
But the point is, do you want
Uri
the
was a
people?
super hit.
Do you want
Uri,
people to
Uri.
have the choice? Is the question.
but people-
Are you scared
No,
of choice?
audiences will decide
No, but you're
based on the
exactly.
merit.
But you're not giving them a choice.
No,
is the
no,
point.
Bina, they are being given a choice. No, yeah.
Absolutely. It has won the national award. Our house
Oh, yeah.
Josh has become like a slogan. All the films came just around the time the election was happening. I mean, cinema is not for the audience and arts and aesthetic. It's becoming yet another propaganda tool. Yeah. And that has to be resisted at all costs.
Of course, but
I think you have to say yes now.
no, I will.
didn't-
No, I would
didn't
say no.
accept-
I'm for
expect
yes, but some form of censorship will not do any harm. I would
Okay.
say okay.
Let's-
Let
let's-
it call
let's
it. Okay, let's use another synonym, some kind of a self-regulatory or something on the artist discretion, but something of even a mild form will not do any harm. That's what I feel.
But if I tell you what you can talk and what you can't, is it okay for you? I mean, seriously, is that okay?
No. Under what circumstance? We have to see.
This, right now, I'm asking you, please don't say this. Please
Michelle
don't
Bhatt.
say what you want to say. Please don't.
Okay.
Please don't. See?
No, it's,
This is what
Okay,
it is.
let's
Okay.
open it to the
Well,
audience.
we
Does
bring
anybody have a
humorous tone
question?
to the discussion, but again, it's the whole question of who is working under what circumstances and things like that.
Good evening, sir. I have quite a few questions based on the, not seminar, debate kind of. So, sir, you made your point on subtlety. Who decides subtlety?
Who
What
decides?
is subtle to you may not be subtle.
Of
for
course,
me,
it's all very subjective. Of course, 100%.
So, who decides that? Who gets to decide that? We are all governed by our own moral values.
Okay.
So, someone who is on the censor board
Okay.
and he cuts it on based on his moral values, it need not be moral value for me. So, we are supposed to be the world's largest democracy. So, if our freedom of expression is being curbed in a democracy, we don't have a right to say we are a democracy. Plus, like the stand-up comedian said, if art can shake your belief, then your belief is not strong enough. So if art is being curbed in a democracy, then we have nothing left. If freedom of expression is being curbed in the form of art, like you can't stand art being expressed, you have nothing left. Then, so who decides what is subtle, what is not? And I'm not very sure of the history, but I've heard censorship began with a chemical reason, that the censorship came into being because of some chemicals flaring up and people dying in Paris. When did it become a moral issue? And I don't think art should be, like you said, art cannot be made subtle. Art is a way of expression, and expression's subtlety cannot be decided by anyone. So that's it. Thank you.
So I would counter first part of your question with what Beena ma'am just said, that to think that filmmakers or content creators will get absolute freedom is not possible. Okay, so first we have to bear that in mind. Even all artists should know that there's got to be some kind of limitations in the way the content is being created, some kind of technical or aesthetic or whatever. Okay, first is that. Now second thing, subtlety. Of course, it's my subtlety, your subtlety. Okay, now here the point is that it's the subtlety of the content creator, let's say filmmaker, and subtlety of the audience. Okay, now you said this is all subjective, but the content creator, since he is the creator, he will use his or her subtlety, and then the audience will decide the merits and demerits of the work based on their subtlety. Okay, if it appeals to them, wonderful. If it doesn't appeal to them, definitely the content creator will get some kind of a barrage of abuses or whatever. Okay, so that way I look at it. Now subtlety again is a kind of a quality. It's one of the qualities. How you are a little different from the rest. That is what all subtlety is all about. Of course, you said art. Art is of course aesthetic expression and so on and so forth. But subtlety comes into picture. That okay, that a filmmaker with his approach, his or her approach. This is what the whole debate about subtlety is all about. That's what I feel.
Yeah, if anybody wants to ask in Malayalam, please feel free. I'll translate for them.
Just one more point, sir. You yourself said that art is between the creator and the audience. So there is a middle person right now deciding the set.
Again, no. Again, we already had that kind of discussion. Of course, that kind of interference should not be there. It should be strictly between the content creator, the filmmaker, or the artist, or the poet, or whoever, and the audience. Of course.
That is censorship. This is where censorship comes in, when there is a middle person in the between the content creator and the audience deciding what is subtlety for the audience.
No, censorship per se, okay, if you just say that, okay, there's a strict censorship, of course, then no work can be created. But some mild form of censorship, of course, then you can create the work, and of course you can show your work, you can portray your art, you can
yeah,
release your
but
films.
I think coming back to the idea of the OTTs, they had, before the INB minister made this, they had already worked on this code of self-regulation, right? Which is what in all sort of decent ways, the government should have accepted, that let us give them the chance to self-regulate and then come up with, if not followed, etc., then we can come up with legislation, etc. The point is that in spite of that, ignoring that, this has been put in place. That is the problematic thing. I really don't want to hold a torch up to Netflix or Amazon or any of these, because I don't really believe that these are great role models at all for distribution, etc. But I'm just saying that this is for example, the Malayalam film that is doing so well now, The Great Indian Kitchen. This film would never have been seen if there wasn't a platform like that. It has been seen. Now imagine if somebody decides that that film does not sort of cater to the traditional idea of the Indian woman. What happens? That film will never get seen. You see, this is what the point is. The point is that who is this deciding person who is going to decide? Of course, external threat, all those noises are being made. But the final question is that this is the narrative about what we think is India or what is Indian. And I think that is the root of the problem. This fear or this notion that there is one and only one narrative about what is Indian. That is the heart of this problem.
You know, any which way, I find the idea of defining India also so difficult to grapple. You know, I mean, there is such diversity and such varied experiences. I am as much an Indian as Suparna is or any one of us is, but our beliefs might be different. Our ways of working might be different. So, what is then a representation of an Indian woman? I mean, if I were to just look at that,
You know, it's,
so I don't know. I just find this whole definition of Indian culture so difficult to grapple with. I don't think there is a Indian culture. So boxing it is a very strange way of
but
looking
I
at it.
think it comes down to pretty much what you were saying, you know, that it's the right to speech and expression. It's as simple as that, and that is guaranteed under the Constitution. So no one should be able to then transgress and go there just because they have a brute majority in parliament.
And why should a Kangana Ranaut be allowed to get away with everything and a Richa Chadda kind of being put in a corner? It's that kind of logic which is working. I mean, this is not about censorship. This is a larger mindset.
Yeah. Yeah.
Question.
Yeah, sorry. Hi. So I was thinking, like, to explain her thing, the Censorship Act regulation that came in 1918 and the 100 years of censorship that was celebrated in 2018. So in between that, censorship has evolved. Like, you started with the Censorship Regulation Act, then it went to licensing, then it went on and on and on. So now when you're talking about censorship, subtlety, then who all are on the board of the censorship? Like, whenever we are asking, whenever we are deciding, we know that it changes according to the loyalties of the people who are placed in the government. And whenever you are asking, okay, these persons who are loyal to the government, and you are giving a film that affects the morale, like that shows the reality of the government or something like that, and you are asking them to be subtle about it, or just don't show that to people, then through which medium do you think that the citizen should acquire all this? Like, where do we see this? And second point, when I am in an IIT, so my institution recently gave us a forum saying that, see, you cannot be a participant of any anti-national protest or any anti-national event that is being conducted in the like anywhere in India. Then you will be expelled on that. Like, I am a student who got into a merit, but still you will be expelled just because if you are involved in any anti-national, if you even put up a status supporting this. So how do you think that even the IITs are asked not to put up any webinar related to anything which is national, which has anything to do with the democracy or act of democracy? And art, the notion of art for art's sake has traveled from Oscar Wilde. It's like long gone. Now art has like beliefs. Art has some values, and art is something which has a duty. So now you're asking the art to not do its duty or like be subtle about it. So which medium do you prefer for us, the new citizen? Which medium do you want us to use to see what is happening in and around the world? As we live in the post-truth era of the media and how media is, twisting all the tales and other things. So even if these kind of medium is not, should be subtle, through which medium do you want us to, see all these?
I'd also like to add a rider to this, which is the interesting thing, and this is what we were worried about, this whole regulation. What about music videos? Do you say now we will decide which music videos will come on? What about comic shows? What about, all, as she says, the young citizens of today, all the stuff that they consume online? Is there regulation going to be? See, we only talk about Netflix and OTT platforms and cinema because it's a festival. But The confusion is, where does this arm reach? This is what we are worried about. Where, if this arm reaches everything, we are doomed.
Yeah, I agree. No, of course we are doomed. Of course, this should not happen. But okay, there will be ways to counter this. But then coming to what this young lady says, I'll answer with whatever knowledge I know to your second question, second part of the question first. I'm also a teacher, okay, and I teach French. And in certain schools, there are certain regulations, okay, how you behave with your colleagues and how you behave with your children, some kind of a code of conduct, I would say. So if you say that you are not allowed to protest and organize webinars and all that, so maybe your institution has some kind of guidelines, okay. Every institution will have, every institution has it, which is good or bad according to how we perceive it, okay. So it remains like that. Well, that much I can say. First part of the thing. First part is that, of course, you said that what about the subtlety of the censor board members? That's what you said. Well, there I think the best thing which can be said is that people who know about cinema, who are able to judge cinema, should be put over there. Many times they are not put over there. There are some kind of people who are not even related to cinema, and you put them to censor your work, then definitely it's going to be problematic. That's what I would say.
Any more questions?
Hi sir, good evening. The thing is, like in the beginning you mentioned that you didn't subscribe to any OTT platform, or you don't. I think like you don't have much idea about what happened to Tandav or
Of course,
something like
yes,
that.
I said that I don't know much of idea because I've not seen it.
Yeah,
Whatever I know about Tandav thing is from newspapers, of course. So I just made it categorically that I don't subscribe to these OTT platforms, nor do I intend to, because I am more bothered about world cinema. So
my question is that
I think you can ask a question to people who subscribe to these OTT platforms,
No, no,
because
no,
they'll be able to answer you better.
no, my question is to you only. The thing without watching this kind of series in Amazon or Netflix or whatever it is, then how you are making these kind of comments, or how you are making these kind of, how the politics of the government is intervening into this kind of OTT platforms. That's my question. I'm wondering, like you mentioned that you only know about the what happened to Tandav.
No. He said right in the beginning that he is not, but he has a view on this,
I have a
and
view on
his
this.
view was, yeah.
Okay. You
He
can
does
have a
not-
view, rather you can have a view even though you don't watch it. You can have a view. You can have a view as a kind of a concerned citizen, as a concerned media person. Of course, you need not watch it.
Any more questions? One more. Okay. Then we'll keep this the last. Porel ആരെങ്കിലും മലയാളത്തിൽ ചോദിച്ചാലും? Okay. Nekha, വേറെ ആരെങ്കിലും ഉണ്ടോ?
Hi. So my question is for the rest of you. As Beena ma'am has suggested, like told us, the Great Indian Kitchen was rejected by Amazon, Netflix, and like every other platform, and the new streaming came in the way. So I hope you guys have watched the Great Indian Kitchen. Yes. So what did you find that? What was the problem? You might think that this went for a rejection? Was it the Shabrimala issue, or is it like the women issue, or like why do you think that they rejected, or is it that same kind of political intervention that they are following and they are having a hard time? Or
See, that could be the reason, but what I also find is that the OTT platforms are being run in a very corporate way right now. Okay, it's a very profit motive driven. I don't see many people having that bent of mind, to be able to negotiate with content in a manner, if somebody sitting in Bombay rejected it, there could be even the likelihood of them not aware of what is happening. It's just that, you know, they would have looked at it and they felt that it didn't work. I don't know the exact details of it, so I can't be sure whether Shabarimala was the reason why it was outrightly rejected. I mean, you know, we can look back and conjecture about it, but there have been so many good films and so many good serials which Netflix has rejected, which have gone on to other platforms. So, you know, they still don't have that art and aesthetic culture woven into them. And it's just the beginning. Lot of people who are working there, and I kind of got to know about it by talking to people within the industry. Netflix would go for big names. So all the money is going to go in for Karan Johar Productions, or Anurag is going to get a chunk of it. They haven't expanded, you know. They came in with the agenda of supporting independent content and independent cinema. But over the years, what I have noticed is that they have fallen completely for the big line names. And that, I'm told, is the case with Netflix abroad as well. What we see is the creme de la creme of some of the serials and films. By and large, it may not be so. I mean, I think Suparna watches much more of the Netflix content than I do. I don't see them support something like Roma or Scorsese here either. So there is a problem. I mean, and having spoken to the CEO of Netflix couple of times, I've interviewed him. He is very aware. He's very into the world politics. The way he has got the Mexican filmmakers, you know, he has always been, you know, the Obama supporter, Trump dissenter. So there is that political sensibility, and there is that awareness about arts and aesthetics. But when it comes to the business, and ultimately these are business houses, I think they have compromised somewhere there, and that's the point where you can pull them down.
No,
You know, that's the point where I really severely doubt whether it's just the politics of the Great Indian Kitchen which would have created this, you know, this whole psyche for them. You know, Geo Baby would be a name they don't even know of. Who's he? Who are the actors? Give me a big name, Mohanlal Do, you know. That is the kind of psyche with which they work. Mammootty
because
though.
all the mainstream OTT platform rejected it.
Yeah,
That is
that's
it.
what the thing is.
No, that's why I said we can't hold a torch up to them. They are gatekeepers. But the problem is that with this kind of regulation, you not only are affecting the gatekeepers, but you're also affecting independent content. Can I put anything on YouTube tomorrow? Can I put up a music video? Can I put up a short film? Do I need to get something, some regulatory authority to see it? So that is the problem. So that is the point of this bigger debate, is that we don't only look or worship, or certainly not worship Netflix and Amazon, etc. But what we are saying is this kind of regulatory business is this stretching your arm literally into your mind, because anybody can make a short film today and put it up. And the confusion with the government is, are they also targeting that? You see, there is also that confusion. I'm sorry to say, it's very much like the farmers' law.
Yeah.
You or the CA, you just don't know. I mean, there is this big agenda and there's just that. You know, there's no gray areas that they are looking at all.
You know, just yesterday I got a WhatsApp message from someone in a big production house in Bombay, and they are saying that for the hires from, you know, immediately from now onwards, they are going to check the social media of profiles of everyone. Now that is what I'm saying is the sinister bit. If I am posting anything anti-national, as in anti-BJP, I won't be hired by these studios. What kind of rationale is this? That is the level of control which is coming to play. Censorship is not just censorship of the content. It's a censorship as a culture. It's a censorship which controls every bit of the creation of the product that we will see at the end of the chain. You know, one girl has been ousted out of her job in a which is, again, I was told yesterday, from a radio, from an app, a music app, because she took on, because she posted some pro-farmer agitation post, which, some random person got offended by. And as a measure of, kind of maintaining peace and harmony, the company has ousted her, It's that bad.
This is about we get cinemas, we all watch in Netflix or Amazon right then in Telegram. So doesn't it affect the filmmakers? Like it's we get it for free. We don't have to pay anything. അപ്പം തന്നെ നമുക്കത് ടെലഗ്രാമിൽ കിട്ടും. അപ്പം അത് ഫിലിം മേക്കേഴ്സ് അഫക്ട് ചെയ്യുന്നില്ല. അതിൽ ആഡ്സ് മാത്രമേ ഉള്ളൂ. അപ്പം അത് എങ്ങനെയാണ് ലൈക്ക്
No, piracy is a completely different issue. It's a very scary issue. At one level, we are all saying that, yeah, everything should be available, etc. But we also know that there are costs to make these films. There are economic drivers to these films. And therefore, when piracy does happen, it hits this business. But but when yesterday, I think in Parliament, there was talk about Twitter and Chinese apps. This whole area is being, we don't know. Now we know that WhatsApp was going to do something. Now, for all you know, now Telegram will do something, Signal will do something. This whole thing of this data war is also a kind of almost unfathomable thing. But piracy is I would say piracy is a dangerous.
One small doubt. Like sir said, to all of you, like sir said, if he doesn't prefer OTT platforms. So there is a target audience for OTT platforms. And initially it was youngsters, but now it comes in all age groups. But I've seen my, kids around like 10, 12 years who are so much into Netflix and Amazon. So when you give the subjective narrative for them to watch, what kind of an unresponsive youth are you bringing down? Like you're bringing up a youth whom you have fed an idea into their heads and they believe that is the truth. So when you are intervening in such a platform, you are interfering in the future of the country. That's my doubt.
Ritwa?
Yeah, this doesn't work actually. Yeah, that is there. That is always there, and there the kind of parenting and the peer group and other kind of guardianship that takes over. They have to see that was always there. Some kind of intervention and some kind of when internet came into force for the first time, so there are so many uncensored contents are there, and we are always worried about our future generation. But I think future generation is very, very smart, and with proper kind of parenting, this can, we always doubt as older generation, we always doubt our younger generation. Our parents did that with us, but we came in flying colors. So I don't think we should be doubting our younger generation. That is a very, very cynical way of looking into it. I think they are very, very smart. I have dealt with them, and they're smarter than us. We were pretty naive at that age. So.
I think the very notion, and this is what the debate has been, is that I think choice is the answer.
Yes.
Where you are able to choose and choose and choose and finally make the right choices, perhaps. So on this note, I think we can call it a day. Thank you all so much. Sorry, Lalit, if you felt a little targeted, but
Not at all, not at all. It was a
always the
pleasure, it was a
person with
pleasure,
a
but again,
different opinion will.
No, even in our own personal lives, we do exercise some kind of censorship in whichever
No,
form,
that
okay?
reminds
No,
me
we
of
do,
a
we do.
particular book.
Now, Lalit, let's
I-
not go into censorship, yeah, please.
Okay, that reminds me of a particular book. It's by a Bengali novelist. His name is Prafulla Chakravarti. He's very famous, and he wrote about these refugees of East Bengal, and the name of the book was Marginal Man. So today in this platform, I found Lalitji to be the marginal man.
Thank you.